back table, could you calm down, please?
What's that off?
Yeah, thank you. That's the most hammering I've done in a long time. Okay, are we recording? Okay, well, good evening. We would like to bring this evening's meeting to order. Please let our minutes show that all of council is here this evening, with the exception of Councillor Smith, who is en route to Greece. So we won't begrudge him not being here this evening. And Councillor Patterson will be here. He had a bit of an emergency to tend to. So we also have members of our staff here this evening and members of the public. So we're glad to have everyone with us. So thank you and welcome. I do need to say that please be advised that this council meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for the public to view, which is our regular practice. We have the OWL, which records our meetings, and everything is all transparent so people can see what we say and do. So we will move on to item 3, which is approval of the agenda.
I move that the agenda be accepted as it is presented.
Seconded.
It has been moved to approve the agenda. Moved and seconded. Is there any question? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 4 is approval of the minutes of our prior meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 10th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve those minutes. Any question on that? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 5 is conflict of interest. Anyone this evening like to declare conflict of interest? Okay. Item 6, correspondence, presentations, and petitions. Item 6.1 is an email regarding unsightly premises. I believe that was our CAO.
So we briefly talked about the unsightly a few times. I did receive requests from residents for 2 properties in Ward 2, just down here at the end of the road. They are in rough shape. I've driven by and taken some photos. Unfortunately, they would be, once we were through the legal process and had everything finalized that way, they would definitely be demolition. So you're looking between 10 and 15,000 a piece to demolish those, remove the debris, and have all of that cleaned up and safe. There's just not an extra 30,000 in the 2025 budget. So we have received, since I have taken the position, we have received several, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different requests. So there's 4, actually 5 that I have received before receiving the 2 for Paget Road. So we have to determine, 1, where the money is going to come from, 2, what takes priority, and go from there, I guess.
Can you outline for council's benefit the process that we have to go through as a municipality in order before a property can be disposed of?
Yep. So actually, I started the process with these when the complaint was, or when the concern was received. I replied to the resident. I sent the information to our bylaw officer for him to start an investigation. I confirmed in the tax roll who owns the properties, and that's as far as I went, because once we start the legal process of sending out the Form 4 after we identify who own the properties and they are not going to comply with our request, which neither of them live in this area, so I can't see that happening. Then we start the legal process of issuing the registered mail. We give them a timeline, and then once that's up, then we can do demolition.
What happens if those properties in the meantime go up for tax sale?
We would have to contact the province to make sure that that is not the case, so that we have a recourse way of getting our money back. If they went up for tax sale and we spent money and didn't check that, we would be out, the taxpayers would be out their dollars.
I haven't read all of the communication you've had with Kim, but I got one question. Has the ownership of the property been determined?
Yes, I've sent for investigation to our bylaw officer right away in March when I received, and I checked on the tax roll who the property owners are, but I haven't
Local.
contacted them. They are local, but I don't believe they live in the area anymore, I'm not sure, but.
So, am I correct in saying that this year there was no budgeted money set aside for unsightly premises?
There's a little bit of money left in our bylaw budget, which was set aside to cover the salary for our bylaw officers. So based on forecasting and what Tina and I've been working on with the budget process, there will be some dollars left over, but that was slated to address the 403 Route 575 concern.
If I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
The dollars that were budgeted in the bylaw line, bylaw enforcement line, did include the cost that we are paying each month to the bylaw enforcement officer, but there was also some dollars that we knew would come for enforcement of these actual bylaws, whether it be animal control, whether it be unsightly premises, and currently there is $7,300 left in that budget. But like CAO Stockford says, there are a number of issues that have come in front of this one that you've got to determine where to put those dollars.
So does Kim have her questions answered?
She didn't wish to address council.
Is there anybody living in these homes?
No, they're vacant, it's obvious they're vacant.
Well, it's a
There's-
royal dump, what it is.
Yeah.
No, I
they're
understand, but
vacant.
there could be some squatters or anything like, we're sure there's nobody in the premises.
There probably is some squatters, some coons and porcupines about all within, right?
I believe Kim's request was that action be taken this year, not wait, because my reply to Kim was, we would start the process, but there's just no money in the 2025 budget to handle those address, and we would bring it to our budget process for 2026 to make sure that they were addressed.
So you mentioned before that if we were to get ahead of ourselves and take steps where we wouldn't recover the money, that indicates that there is a process where the government does reimburse us?
Right,
Okay.
yeah, I have to contact the Department of Finance, I believe, and they'll let us know if the properties are up for tax sale or anything going on, because if there is a situation where they're up for tax sale, then we wouldn't proceed.
Okay.
Is it permissible if Kim has some questions for her to ask them this evening?
It's up to the mayor.
I don't have a problem with that. Did you have, Kim, did you
I
want to?
just had a couple quick questions. I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly. So to date, there has been no notification to the owner of either property, be it verbal or handwritten?
No.
No? So I guess my question to that is, what does it cost to verbally or in writing approach the owner to notify them that they are, not respecting the bylaw? Like, I guess that's where my thinking goes first. It's like, what does it cost to talk to the owner to say, why are you leaving your property unattended?
I
And
haven't been able to track down the owners, I know their names, I haven't been able to track them down.
Okay. So you haven't been able to actually locate them? Okay. So if you were able then, is that
I can make a
Proper
phone
step?
call. I
Is
can
that a
make
proper
phone
step?
call and
That's
send
the
a letter, but
process.
we can't start the actual formal process.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to send the Form 4, which is the notice to comply, so it lacks some teeth, basically.
Okay.
If you can't, because you don't wanna send the Form 4 and have it be, if you don't comply by the state, we will take measures to undergo the changes necessary, because that's an idle threat at this point, if there isn't money in the budget for us to actually move forward with it.
Okay, so it would be getting the cart before the horse. Like if there's no money to pay for going forward with an action, then we really, the timing wouldn't be correct, like we wouldn't be able to do it.
But could we not even just make if we can find the owner, track them down, could we at least make the initial contact and say there's been a complaint?
That's what James, that's what our bylaw officer,
That's what he
me
does.
sending everything to him, that's what he's
Okay.
trying to do, is trying to
Okay.
find out where they are. We know their names, we just don't know where they live and can't get a hold of them, so.
So if you do find them and are able to get a hold of them, they will be notified that,
I can give them a call or send them a letter and say, here's what you should do, but we have no recourse to reinforce that. We can tell them they need to tear it down till we're blue in the face until we can actually put money behind the Form 4 and send out the legal paperwork.
So can you not determine the owner of the property based on the tax records?
Yeah,
And I have.
Yeah, she knows who the owner is, just hasn't been able to contact them yet.
Okay, because it was my understanding that both owners are like local,
The names are locals, but I,
like Stone
Well,
Road.
Mr. Hamilton could certainly tell you where his son lives, and that's who owns the property at this Brother Reckon Road.
Yeah, we probably should be careful naming names in
Yeah.
these matters, so.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll leave it with our CAO, she has been pursuing it, and as well working in conjunction with our bylaw enforcement officer, so, I know that she's certainly brought it to my attention, so I know she's on it, so,
Will we have a report back from our bylaw officer before our next meeting?
I can certainly check and see if he has any.
did you have any other questions, Kim?
No, that was mainly my main question, and I just want to make one comment also that I just noticed like
I know
over
where
the
it
past 3 days that some grass has been cut
Okay,
around Two Gadget Road,
okay.
which, you know, has amazed me, right? And just didn't know if it was from, you know, some outcomes of me addressing it with, you know, Julie.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here and with.
So where, from a public standpoint, could I look for any update on how things are moving? Do I
Would you
look at
After
the
our.
minutes?
Well,
on the
so,
website, or-
our CAO will continue again the process, and once maybe there's some movement, you can reach out?
Yep.
Okay.
So I can just reach out?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that'd be great. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
And in addition, our bylaw officer's report would be hopefully tabled before our next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can-
So there are
can I
motions.
just say one more thing?
Sure.
This is as frustrating for us as it is for you,
Yeah.
because this is new to us.
Yeah.
And we just haven't budgeted for it
Well,
for this
I
year.
guess again, I just want to reiterate, like, my main concern is fire hazard.
Yes.
I mean, we all see the news and see what's happening, and I don't know, Stuart, you will, Wayne, you will, but I mean, like 50-some years ago, there were several properties wiped out right in the village across from the store. And it was all because of a simple grass fire, and once it caught into one, it just, you know, continued on to the next home. So, you know, I can just, you know,
No, it's, your
See
concern
that.
is certainly warranted.
right, and as well, a safety hazard, because, you know, both places are just on the verge of collapsing, and even though one property has had like a padlock on the door, I mean, I see different days the door's been, you know, open, so obviously they've kicked it in or whatever, and pretty much all the windows in both properties are broken, and anyway, I think, you know, as I say, pictures speak 1,000 words. Well, yeah, if you just take a look at the two properties, then you can certainly see all the key things that should be on the radar, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are 3 potential motions there. If you've had a chance to review them and see how you as a council would like to direct our CAO. So as she has spoken, she has been working on these actively. We know that she has been in touch with our bylaw enforcement officer, and we're looking for the information needed to move forward, so.
I'll table a motion to bring unsightly properties at 2 Paget Road and 10 Paget Road to the Finance and Infrastructure meeting in preparation for the 2026 budget process.
I'll second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any question on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand. Motion is carried. We'll move on to item 6.2, MB Trail, Trans-Canada Trail, and Quad MB presentation, and that's with John Nigro.
Good evening, council and visitors. So the purpose of this presentation is as requested the council to discuss options where we allow off-road vehicles within our municipality. How can we accommodate both the walkers and the off-road vehicles in a safe manner? So in the PowerPoint presentation that you guys have in front of you, there's a handout there.
You're speaking about just the old town, right? You're not talking about the entire municipality, you're just talking
Correct.
about the town.
Correct, within town. So, in front of you, you see a blue and orange line, basically, on the first slide. Orange being the off-road vehicles and blue being the walkers. Having your item out here. So the actual, I guess, starting point, I'm proposing is a little bit further back, I'm trying to get everything on one. So I'm proposing we go far back as Hartland Road. There's a little entry point there to the main road off the trail. So
I didn't hear which road, I'm sorry.
Hartland Road.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Am I saying that correctly? Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so hypothetically, in this proposal, if the ATVers exit the trail at Howard Hill Road and continue on Main Road through town, past the John Fleming, past the Becker Train Bridge, through, past obviously Tim Hortons, through downtown, past the covered bridge, and continue on past the lagoon to the NB Trail crossing. Yes, to the NB Trail crossing or just around Rideout Road. Then that gives the walkers about 4.7 kilometers of uninterrupted space. And it allows for the off-road vehicles to park downtown by the canteen. It allows them to go across the covered bridge. And just it allows them to access an entry point in and out of town off of the trail. You continue on. And then if we choose not to go that far back, because we don't want them maybe getting on the main road at Hartland, we want them getting on the main road in maybe a safer spot, then I would propose the Becker-Wimmick train bridge area there. From there to the NB Trail crossing at the other road, that's 3 kilometers. So it's less.
The only thing with that is that you're still gonna have off-road vehicles going back up the road to the gas station.
Correct.
So it kind of would just defeat the purpose of that.
And you do have a
We
number.
would, exactly, yes. It's just, it would,
I'll tell you from first-hand perspective, you do have a number of pet owners that will vacate town and head towards the Hugh John Fleming Bridge, just watching from the porch, that they tend to walk their dogs that direction to avoid confrontation and too much activity, so you'd have a lot of that going on. So Howell Road's a great proposal.
well, I'll continue on with the assumption that everything happens the way we're proposing. Howell Road to the and be trail crossing around Reid Road. Next. Now, we have to talk about access points from the other side of the river and obviously outside of town. So, one of the things at the meeting, the We6 meeting, was they wanted to know how off-road vehicles could access the municipality, the town limits, from, let's say, across the river, right? Lawrenceville has their proposal. I'm suggesting the covered bridge, because this would allow a walking spot as well as a designated route for the off-road vehicle. People can walk along the side of the bridge, and the vehicles can use the bridge space. This was one of the concerns that the We6 trail discussion had, is how can walkers and motorists, I guess, cross the river at the same time. So my proposal is the covered bridge. Moving on from that, the second, I guess, access point, how do vehicles get in from town? Or get into town from, not, let's say, the other side of the river, but, you know, Coldstream, Coldville, wherever, right, the former LSU. I would suggest Rockland Road, coming in Rockland Road, and then any traffic from inside of town go to Rockland Road, and then follow Rockland Road along the curve, it's on the map here, along the next slide, follow Rockland Road down to Main Street, and then they can continue left or right on Main Street, and access the trail at Hartland Road or down by Reid Road. So I'm proposing that all in-town traffic go to Rockland and come down, or exit and go past the school and outside of town.
There is a trail that runs up beside the old tire shop that will take you anywheres out there, because you come out, right, you can either come out where Melvin's shop is, or you can continue on farther down and come out across from the Ashland Road. So I don't know if there's a need to be coming in the Rockwood Road on an off-road vehicle, because there's plenty of trails that will bring you from anywheres out here into town. That will connect you right to in behind Old Dutch, which you can then in turn connect to where you were talking about down by this Bridle Road.
So Sam, are you talking about
We used to call
coming
it
into the industrial park and then vacating out McLean Avenue and down by the lagoon? That'd be the access point.
Yeah, you
We
would
keep them out of the center of town where residential.
you would come out by side the old tire shop.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You take a left, right? You go down past Old
We always
Dutch.
called that road the McCain Road.
Right, so
You keep them towards McLean. in the
right, and up
industrial
by your
area,
dad's
and then
house
down
in
by-
Walton
yeah.
Court and out that way.
Yeah.
That would keep them out of Main Street, or down, you know, out of the main street, like Rockland Road in that way.
Do you think, you mean, so eliminate the Main Street access and use McLean?
You know, you wouldn't,
Only Rockland Road.
you would eliminate Rockland Road, because if most people, I mean, maybe it would take some education, but if they can get to here, which they have trails to get to here, if they can get to here, they can get in town, and they do not need to touch pavement.
You can do it through signage and access points and producing
It basically
maps.
follows a lot of the Skidoo Trail.
Except they're going into town to
Well,
get gas and.
But yes, but at this, you don't need the access point to come in through Rockland Road, you can still get to his access point at the end of Rideout Road, and then you can go up to your plan to go get your gas, to go to the canteen or wherever.
regardless, you have to present access to Main Street, and that's
Yeah.
something we have to live with. What you're hoping to achieve through it is that there will be some people that'll say, why would you do this? Why would you why would you open it up? But at least you hopefully achieve some semblance of order and coexisting, that you can have, your walkers and your bikers and your recreational people have access on the blue trail, designated blue set through, and then provide the orange, through.
Is the blue trail marked non-motorized?
No.
On this, it would be, so whatever we end up proposing, I was unaware of all those trails that already exist.
Yeah.
Which is great, I'm glad they do, because then it would alleviate that, what I'm proposing.
I'll come pick you up on the side by side, I'll take you out
I would like
There's
to.
council meetings going on the road,
through. I can
Sam.
pick you up and take you out through.
A little R&D.
So what I guess, that being said, we could map all that would be up to the municipality to do so. We could have an in-town map of how motorists could get from point A to point B on Main Street. We can map that out. And then, yes, in this particular case, based on what you see there, the blue trail would basically be the MB Trail from Howell Hill Road to the MB Trail right would be walking home, and the motorists would come down Main Street.
So you know, in your meeting, were there people who were passionate of keeping the MD Trail just as a walking trail?
Not in my meeting, they were all for motorists.
Okay.
Yeah.
We still have to designate a spot. We do need to designate a spot though in the town along where you're talking about, so people can feel safe to walk up and down that trail. Because there are vehicles that are going through there, and if we give them an option to go down the road, I think most of them will take it.
We give them an option to access their gas, components, and groceries, and we give the lockers 4.7 kilometers to run and drive the trail.
And everybody that we're given access to are roadworthy and legal?
Licensed registered vehicles.
Yes.
And that would be up to us to manage our local bylaws and so on and so forth. And
Well, it's illegal to operate a motor vehicle anyways without it.
Provincial.
Right.
I'm encouraged by this because it's been a long time since people have wanted to coexist on these trails. And I don't think, I should say I do think that this approach respects both groups, those who want the cross-Canada Trail to be, the Trans-Canada Trail to be just for walking, or biking, or whatever it happens to be. So I think it's the most encouraging steps that I've seen in a very long time.
then, if I may, go ahead.
I was just asking you if you've ever seen the NB ATV map trail. You would need a degree in nuclear physicist, I think, to make sense of it.
One of the biggest NBATV map trail, one of the things you notice right away is there's a clear gap between North Andover and Woodstock. It's all,
Yeah.
off the,
Right.
away from the river, right? And then, I just included some slides in here just for information of municipalities that do something similar. There's Perth, as we know, Grand Falls, as we know, the same thing. You can see the red, the burgundy is the routes that the ATVs are allowed on within town. Nacogdoches does something similar, and so is St. Catharines.
John, can you tell us which groups and which areas were represented at that meeting?
Yes, so Leasix is a group that was contracted out by the Service Commission to conduct, a general discussion, investigation into trail usage. And they are bringing everybody together, and they're going around and speaking to all the different groups. They're interested in public opinion, and put out calls for that. They're facilitating conversations between the province and Quad MD. So they're kind of the ones spearheading this trail discussion, and more information and more, decision making will be coming in September of this year, September 2025. Quad MD is obviously kind of involved, the District of Carleton North. They attended the most recent meeting I was at, and they were
Was off-road vehicle enforcement represented at any of these meetings?
not the one I attended one in May.
Because they're in the end, I believe, the ones that will be enforcing
Correct.
the whatever bylaw that we have. I'm assuming, like, have we checked with them to say, can we change it? Are we allowed to have this bylaw? Because they may be opposed to off-road vehicles being on a paved road, I'm not sure. But I think they need to be consulted for sure about maybe even just asking them if this is possible, because I think they're the ones in the end that are going to be enforcing
That's right.
it.
From what I understand with Quad MD, currently the only thing really stopping, or the only thing they're waiting for on the application side of things, based on what the municipality has sent in, is final approval from DNR, the DNR Crown Land Coordinator. They have our submission.
Who?
Department of Natural Resources, Crown Land Coordinator. They're the final piece to allow usage on the Nigro Trail.
And I believe from one of the meetings that you and I attended together in Carlton North, they said that there was, one of the groups would assist in writing the bylaw because they had the experience with other municipalities. So that's, that's a help as well.
Yes.
So,
We would probably have to get permission where we have a shared provincial highway from town that would be allowing them on, right?
That's a designated highway.
Yeah.
That's where I think the off-road vehicle enforcement needs to be consulted because,
Otherwise, we're wasting our time.
right?
yeah, and I don't think anything goes ahead without that.
I don't think you're gonna find much resistance to it because at the end of the day, people need to get from point A to point B, and it's a lot less headache for them if they don't have to enforce, people are allowed to use that stretch to get where they need to go. I can't see it, but they should definitely be consulted.
On the other side of it too is from a public safety standpoint, when you step back and look at the risk mitigation to have the designated, you're gonna have four-wheel vehicles on our roads regardless if you appreciate the shape or form they come in, regardless, but at least you won't have people walking and have the possibility of having an accident on the trail, being hit by a motor vehicle. If we can isolate that, we're doing a good service to our public too.
Agreed.
Well, I think once the education component comes up, because we know the human nature.
Oh, yes. Adaptation takes a long time.
Yes, so it will take some education, so, but I think we're making great strides.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess the next real update, to my understanding, unless something happens sooner, will be in September.
Okay,
I'll make sure I take you for a drive before then.
okay, thank you, John, that's great. Okay, we will move on to item 6.3, disposal of surplus provincial property located in Hartland. Leave that with your CAO.
Michelle did a little research for me, so, everything's in your package there, the two spots, they're down below town on the side, I believe, in Lower Brighton. They're just building lots. Not really that we
We don't
could
need to
think of,
spend
we couldn't think
$30,000
of, no,
for-
we couldn't think of any use and have, but I wanted to bring it to council's attention so they could make a decision. There
We just
are-
notified finance that we're not interested?
Yeah, and actually, there was a group, a nonprofit group, Ground Search and Rescue, that contacted Michelle and I at one point that were looking for properties somewhere between Woodstock and Hartland on that route. So if the town has no use for them, I'll most definitely reach out and let them know the situation, because they may be able to acquire it for their,
I was surprised that the provincial government has property down
must be a tax sale.
there. Where did that come from? There are.
So, motion prepared. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna respond to Councilor Britton. When they built the four-lane highway, all the acquisition of land down through the valley, at the completion of the highway, they were left with over 7,000 PIDs that were not utilized.
Okay.
So do we need to do a motion?
If the town's not interested in proceeding, we don't need a motion. I'll just.
Okay. Move on to item 6.4, email concerning fun park hours.
I did have just a quick report, but we did have a resident that wanted to address council on that, so.
Was she coming this evening?
I don't,
She's not here.
she's not here?
No,
Okay.
it's not clear.
So, the email is there, I guess, just concerning, the times,
Would you let me read it? So it was from Debbie Prosser, and she said she'd like to request this item be added to the agenda. Summer fun park hours of operation. Starting a week after regular school is finished and ends, before new school term starts, what do parents do for childcare in the meantime? Drop off and pick up is not feasible for parents who have to work. Thanks, Debbie.
What are the hours?
So, yes, what are the hours, John?
Fun park hours activity hours are 8:30 to 4:30 PM, and we schedule our leaders 8 to 5 PM to allow for early drop-off and late pickup. The facility hours are 8 to 6 PM. There will be somebody there at 8 o'clock every morning for early drop-off. 8 o'clock allows our leaders time to get the day ready and the programs ready for activities start at 8:30.
Are those hours consistent with what's been done in the past?
Last year, yes, I don't know what's been done.
Previously, when I used to work there 20 years ago, we started at, this was not a facility like we have now. We went from 7:30 to 5:30. Because it allowed for parents to drop their kids off, who had to be to work by 8.
Right.
But that was in the old arena 20 years ago.
Right. Thought you were older.
But work hours continue to remain the same.
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
So, I thought this was a valid point, to consider, and I wasn't certain of what the hours were before, so I don't know what does,
So, I mean, in fairness, it would be 1 extra hour per day per employee, would that be correct? If they came at 7:30 to 5:30?
And the facility would have to be open early. And instead of a 9-hour day, it'd be a 9.5-hour day.
So the whole facility, would the whole facility have to, I mean, if you had leaders there, you'd need one person to open the facility up because they can kind of crowd the kids into the room, is that what they do at 8 o'clock?
There's gonna be a specific procedure for on park in the morning because we don't have enough room for backpacks and everything in our community room. We're going to recommend that parents drop the kids off at players entrance, and then there's gonna be a male and female room where kids can move up their bags and bring their lunch bags up to the community room, put it in the fridge and so on. And that will be as soon as 8 o'clock it would be, because the facility will be open and our leaders will be there. Go ahead.
So how we used to do it to mitigate that, I mean, you'd still have to open up the complex a half an hour earlier, but we had half the staff, 2 people would come in at 7:30 and work till 3:30, the other half would come in at 8:30 or 9 and work till 5:30.
We have 4 fun park leaders.
And you have to have them all.
We increased our numbers to 30 kids. So if you gotta have them there to support the kids. So that's why the 4 leaders all work the same shift. And basically work from opening the facility until 1 hour before it closes. And the half hour at 4:30 allows them for half-hour cleanup if all the kids get picked up around 4:30.
And as for ending a week before, it always ended a week before school started. I don't know about when it started, I can't remember if it started directly after school was let out, because it's different every year, right?
It's also 8 weeks, because
8
our
weeks.
our grants that we receive for these summer students are 8-week grants.
I'll offer an unpopular opinion, but let's look at, what is the intent of Fun Park? Is it for kids-based activities or is it daycare?
It's summer daycare.
It's summer daycare.
It's summer daycare, for sure.
I understand that's the perception of the public, but what is our intention of Fun Park? Our intention of Fun Park is to provide activities for kids to come to, it's not to provide a
But if you
daycare.
remove the daycare tag, then it's no different than a hockey camp or a basketball camp. And usually they're not for 8 weeks, so the fact, the duration of the time, and coming from kids that went to Fun Park.
Absolutely, I understand the
It was-
perception, but are we gonna live up to that perception where we already have an organized schedule of 8.5 hours of work for these people? Are we gonna compromise that and add more cost to it, to provide daycare hours?
I guess,
Then there's tighter regulations, if it becomes a daycare, there's different regulations we have to adhere to.
Right.
and I guess my take on it is, that, I mean, this year, there's nothing we can change this year, we've already got a budget set for what we're doing and all that, but I think maybe in the future, I mean, it's a valid point. I mean, I have employees and a lot of people in this room, and they probably do need to be dropped off before 8 o'clock if they're expected to be at work at 8. I mean,
I understand.
so maybe next year we budget and say, look, the cost of Fun Park would have to go up with that extra hour or 2 hours of labor. I mean, we're gonna have to budget that in and come up with a different proposal and say, instead of it being, what is the cost of Fun Park? Do you remember?
There's various costs. It's $25 a day. Full season is $550. If you have multiple kids, there's a discount. If you have 3+ kids, there's a discount.
So maybe it's,
So the fees go up.
the fees go up.
Yep, and that's a fair solution.
And I think that's the only solution.
Yep.
I don't think the prices
You're
change much.
talking next year
I think
now,
that's what
what
it
was
used to
this
be.
year?
We can't do anything this year because it's budgeted. I mean, they've already got the budgets done, their staff's hired, and
Schedules are set.
schedules are set, employees.
Go ahead, John.
If I may, we also haven't raised the cost of fun parks since last year, it's the same cost. We've actually added an additional discount for 3+ children this year.
The only other solution might be, I mean, for this year, if you wanted, maybe you could find out how many kids would need to be dropped off before 8. Maybe it's only 3 kids, and you can kind of make arrangements for that part of it. That's the only thing you can do, I mean.
Parents really do. I worked there for a few years. Parents really do rely on it for, call it a day camp, call it whatever, but they really do rely on it. And, for whether you wanna call it fun park or daycare or whatever, I mean, whatever it is it's called, but we should try to accommodate the parents that need to be able to be at work for 8, I mean, in the future.
I understand that, I'm a parent myself, and every parent has the same situation, so I understand that. We recently changed our facility hours to lower operating costs. We have set staff that we budgeted for the summer, so if we start making exceptions to some, then that is going to grow, and that will require more staff at 7:30 in the morning.
Right. I think, as was suggested by another councillor, that for this year, I mean, the plan is what it is. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't look at it for next year, though.
And if, Mayor, as well,
Yes.
this is the same arrangement we had last year when Fun Park was at 50%, and it worked out.
You know, my comment to that statement would be, there's no shame in being better.
Absolutely.
And, you know, maybe I'm passionate because I understand the value of both being a parent and trying to get to work. And most careers are at 8 o'clock, and a lot of places people work, they don't have the flexibility to come in at 8:15, and, you know, I certainly don't mind my staff, but there's some that have to be there, and this concern, I think, is valid. I mean, in fairness though, Fun Park was published when the hours and pickups. I mean, not like we changed after people signed up either. But, I mean, there's any way that we can promote usage of our facilities, we'll look at it, but I think there should be status quo and really appreciate the input and extra change if we need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it does make sense. I think it's a valid point. For this year, I think that we'll probably have to keep the status quo, as you said, but I don't see, as long as it's reflected in the budget and, we compensate by increasing our fees if need be, so. Okay. That's good. Great discussion on that. So we will move on to item 6.5, which is an email concerning the state of our sidewalks, and I'll leave this with our CEO.
Yep, I'll just read the email from a resident, and actually this came up because she is taking care of a senior lady that is not well. So just wanted to bring to your attention a piece of her driveway entrance that needs work. This is the property of someone at 406 Main Street. The entrance curb is broke up and an obstacle for walkers and drivers. She now has people coming into her property several times a week, and there have been times when I worried about losing my car's muffler while turning into her driveway. The broken sidewalk also prevents her from walking any distance along it. The issue was brought to town's attention a couple of times over the past 2 years, and I hope you make sure it's on the list of curb repairs to be done this year. And I enclose photos that I want them in top. It is hard to tell, but there actually is here, the curb side sticks up quite a bit further than the sidewalk, so you could easily catch something back in there.
Looks like a job for a new backhoe.
And this is in regard to a senior.
Yes, that's being,
So, just as a note, in regard to curb and sidewalk repair, I will leave this, give this to some of the members of the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. Are we addressing any sidewalks or curbs this year?
I would defer to our chairperson of Public Works.
So, we were waiting on the revitalized Main Street portion, which I don't see materializing in 2025, so we will have to look at that in our next finance infrastructure
I knew, that was, something that we had discussed at one of our council meetings within the last month or so, that one of the, was it a grant, Michelle, that we were looking at that had to do with a special sort of curbing?
Oh, that was the climate resiliency
Oh,
program,
right.
yes, that we
Okay.
could do certain things and get some government funding for, yeah. We've been doing some background research on that.
I know with our roads, with the infrastructure committee, they have a pretty decent, not order, but importance order of which roads you would choose to fix and repair based on their usage/condition.
Yes.
Is this something that we should look at for sidewalks? Because unfortunately in our
Yes.
community, that this is the only piece of broken sidewalk that could create trip hazard. So I guess my question would be is if we had budgeted an X amount of money to fix sidewalks per year, and we had a list developed to say this would be the worst,
But as Jed said, a lot of that sidewalk wish list was tied into the downtown development funding.
understand that, but do we have the wish list done already? We know like the top 10 core pieces of sidewalk, for lack of better words.
If it's not on paper now, it wouldn't take long.
Because then,
It is, it's on the spreadsheet.
yeah, okay. Because then if there was ever money or grants or budgeted money, we know we'll point here. Yeah, I don't know how you would answer this
Probably the old Jeremiah's is in worse shape than that.
with more population of walkers.
Right. There's that, there's up by the Legion, there's a spot that is completely gone. By the old high school, there's a section of sidewalk that is tilted. I do have a list compiled of it, and it's a matter of when we spend the dollars to.
And that's all done by contractors, that form.
Yes.
And that's all at our sole cost, right, Jed? There's no programs, infrastructure commitments, any of
Right.
that's completely at the cost of the
Other
town.
than what we've been trying to do is to
Right.
build that in as a component of some of the other development programs.
Right, yeah.
But we could consider a small, even if it's a small amount in the budget every
There
year.
is no such thing as.
I know,
small
there
amounts.
isn't. I'm hopeful, but we could put X amount of dollars away every year and pick a section,
Yes.
do what we can for that amount of money.
The same way,
Yeah,
the same way we do it.
what we're doing with the
Exactly.
That's where
roads,
you're
yes.
patching. It's
Yeah.
definitely a focus matter, it's just how much, how fast.
Exactly.
It's,
And to be clear, if I may, there is $20,000 in our budget that historically has been put towards sidewalks. But for this year, that was intended to be used as part of our funding towards the Hartland waterfront revitalization, which of course is still waiting for the pieces to all line up for the local permit, so.
Can I ask a question?
There's dollars in the budget.
How much sidewalk is $20,000 fix,
Not
realistically?
To do that section from this property to, Day and Ross, I hate to put a number to it, but I would put it between somewhere 15 and 20,000. Time they remove and rebuild and remediate the asphalt beside it and everything like you're looking at.
So what we need to do is recalculate how much money we're putting aside for sidewalks, and if it doesn't go with the downtown.
Yes, but we need to be very realistic in what we can do. I mean, we can't wave a magic wand and say,
No, I understand.
$30,000 is gonna go to sidewalks.
it's a give and take
And,
process.
we have to balance that out, I think.
If
financially.
we want it, we gotta give up something.
Yeah.
I
So
think
like, in our road budget, our patching budget for roads is $50,000 annually. And, and that's on top of the Hillcrest extension that we were able to complete this year. But realistically, do you put $35,000 towards sidewalks, which is gonna fix maybe 100 feet of sidewalk, or do we add that to transportation budget for patching? You talk to motorists in the spring, they're gonna say, put it on patching. As the weather gets a little warmer and people are walking on crooked sidewalks and trip and fall, they want it on sidewalks, so. But what you're talking about, $35,000 towards sidewalks, that's 1 cent of assessment.
No
It
one
would
wants
be
patches.
hard,
so, have you responded yet to the writer of the email?
I told her that it would be on the agenda for discussion and that I would get back to her after the meeting.
If I may,
Yes.
this is the place to say, well, we will be there to do what we can. I do believe the piece that's up directly in the driveway now, we could maybe grind that down or do something to
Okay,
fix, not fix, but to make it better.
okay,
Can I throw a wrench in here, your worship?
sure.
As is the custom.
Never known you to do that, so go ahead.
Since we're talking about sidewalks, came off of the covered bridge tonight and I looked, as I went by, CK's. And we talked about it before last year, nothing was ever done. And, it's a mess down there. There's a little chunk of sidewalk there and a low spot that's full of water right now, right in front of CK's. And I know what we got coming up in August, and I cannot understand why that cannot be fixed. At least leveled off. It's a mess right in the middle of town. Right in front of CK, that little stretch of sidewalk that should be torn up.
From the bridge up to the entrance into the main parking facility for the library. And we talked about that before, but again, that was part of the downtown development component. And the reason that we've kept it there, really now, for 2 years, is because that would allow us to fix that at 25 cent dollars. If we were to fix that tomorrow, it would be 50,000 of unbudgeted dollars.
What would it cost if we just went in with our backhoe and dug it up?
What are you gonna put in its place?
Let's just gravel there now.
Just put some crushed stone in there.
Really, honestly, like most of it, because I remember the conversation that the property owners didn't want a curb extended.
Yep.
But I
No,
mean, if you,
yeah, first of all, we have to get the property owner on
but
side.
if you went in and said, look, you know, there's a piece here and a piece there, I mean, we just kind of drew a line where the sidewalk's still good for a while, and then maybe you dug it up and gravelled it the way the rest of it is. I don't know. Maybe we can't.
Irving owns that, correct?
But I think a lot of the sidewalk in that area that he's referring to is broke out and not even exposed anymore.
Yep, the curb is good, the sidewalk.
But I don't know how you start that conversation either. What exactly is their intent? To make it safe to walk on, I guess, is how we start the
Safety.
conversation.
I mean, if on New Brunswick Day, they're expecting 6,000 people in the downtown core. And you got a piece of whatever right in the middle of it, and you're talking about people tripping. I mean, you could have 100 people trip there inside of a half an hour, for Pete's sake,
So
the
we
way the
did go
conditions.
down last summer and put gravel in there to level up the lower spots of that. So that has been addressed.
Okay, thank you, your worship.
So there is a proposed motion, or two there. Would the council like to proceed?
Well, I think Jed said he's going down to fix or to repair what he can on 406, correct?
So does that need to be a motion, or do we just go ahead and do it?
Part of maintenance, isn't it?
I believe so, I can't speak to that 100%, but
Let's do it, because there's no formal.
I don't usually,
And Juanita Stillman is the nicest person you're ever gonna meet. And
Yes.
she's lived in that house, and the family's lived in that house forever. And should be very accommodating.
So which motion do you want?
No, because Jed's just gonna go down and do it. I just had potential motions if you wanted to reallocate money or you wanted to budget for next year.
So thank you for that. Okay, we'll move on to item 6.6, MB Medical Education Foundation Incorporated Scholarship. So as we know, we are having an issue with a lack of physicians in our area, and there's practitioners and the whole gamut of healthcare workers. And with some recent retirements and some potentially upcoming retirements of our own physicians within Hartland, there's a big concern that we're going to be left with no physicians in Hartland, which is a concern for all of us. So as part of the RSC, some of the meetings that a lot of the content in our meetings lately has been around healthcare. And something that has come forward to the RSC is this MB Medical Education Foundation scholarship. And so I think that, did you provide those numbers?
I printed the email, but I do have it here listed, 4587.
So, I think there's more work to be done as far as what it would entail completely and what the program is exactly, but basically, you would provide scholarships where there would be some parameters around that, of course, that they would have to give or work within the area. There would be some stipulations to this scholarship, but they're asking that municipalities would consider contributing to this scholarship in hopes of bringing physicians here.
As our representative on Western Valley, what are other communities saying?
I know that other communities they're seeing it as a necessary investment, and so I know that I don't want to speak for them, but I can say that some of our surrounding municipalities have already approved it with their councils. So I think you said there was a number that was provided, what our contribution would be. Were you able to verify?
It's 45.
4587.
Yeah, but were you able to verify? You thought our number was a little different?
It's based on the tax.
Based on the tax rate, okay. So for Hartland, if we wanted to contribute to the scholarship, our contribution would be the 4587, and it would be 4 years.
Per year for 4 years?
That would change based on what our,
Tax rate.
yes, yeah.
So is there any guarantees, is there anything in the scholarship stating that they would have to come back to this
Yes.
area to work? There
Yes.
is?
And if they did not, they would have to pay it back.
Okay.
Those are stipulations that have been at least put forward.
I've met a few recent graduates, and they are in no position to pay anything back.
Yeah.
But that's the
That's the
the
premise.
goal. And
Yeah, that's the premise of the scholarship. Now, again, there's still some fine details to be worked out as far as what the contract would actually look like, but this is what they believe the contribution would be.
And and it doesn't determine which community out of the Western Valley that they would be asked to come back to work in. It could be all in Woodstock or it could be all in Florenceville, right?
And remember that our service commission boundaries go from Plaster Rock to Meductic, is that correct?
So any of those communities, they don't
Yes.
necessarily, it's not necessarily gonna
Right.
mean more doctors in our area.
Right. But we also know that our doctors don't just serve the Hartland community, right? So we have, I can tell you just from our clinic where I work, that we have people from Grand Falls, New Denmark, all the way to Fredericton and beyond. So a doctor in our area is a benefit to not having a doctor in our area. So.
Do we have funds available through
This would be for
Next year.
Yeah.
the next year?
So I mean, even if you just wanted to, we wanted to have some deeper discussion, get a little more detail from the RSC, that's an option as well.
Is that what you recommend?
I might like to finalize, because if other communities choose not to contribute, I don't know if that changes our contribution, or if they just don't go ahead with it. So, but I'm certain of at least one of our neighboring municipalities, they're digging in deep to this.
So would you rather deliberate further, or do you want to pass this motion?
I have a meeting in a couple of weeks. Can I get a few more details and bring it back?
if this is for next year, can we put it off to budget time in the fall
You need to
and
commit,
budget
right?
for next year?
I think a commitment would be valued because it would help other municipalities in the decision making as well.
So what do you think the timeline for our decision should be?
I think if my meeting is, I think the 13th of July, I mean, our following meeting would be at the end of July. I could have better information.
Therefore, I'll make a motion to deliberate further, to give council time to consider the request and any conditions they would like to see as part of the scholarship return to service agreement associated with the fund.
Seconded, Councilor Britton.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand. Motion is carried. We'll move on now to our reports from our different department heads. We will start with Tina Pelkey, our treasurer. Thank you, Tina.
Let's hear all the good news.
You are okay.
I should say what Jed says. Jed says that I'm the pin. There's a reason for it.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council.
And ladies,
Thank you. Thank you to the Triple C for allowing us to be here tonight. Just a couple of highlights off of the actual treasurer's report before we get into some numbers. We are, I would say, fairly deep into our 2026 budget. We have, at this point, with some notes from this evening, about 4 pages of requests to be added to a budget, whereby at this point in time, assessments have been frozen for 2026. So that means no increase in revenue from our greatest revenue source. We do have other sources of revenue, but a huge ask in costs. So I just wanted to put that one back out there. The Municipal Capital Borrowing Board, we did touch base again with them this morning to see what the holdup is for our official letter, and it just seems to be a delay in processing. We've had an unofficial confirmation that our hearing went well and that we can move forward with our backhoe and with our PMHP or reconstruction of the Route 105 paving project. So they did tell us today, wait till June the 30th and hopefully you'll have everything in place by then. So asset management planning, we are definitely working more towards adding some pieces to our 2024-2028 capital plan. We did get a big piece of that added. We added a $3.8 million project when Michelle got some information, should say Director Derrah, got some further information on costing for projects along Rockland Road and what they may cost to get streets, water, and sewer added. So again, we will move those pieces around and see where we go from here. We are working on plans for our firefighter and volunteer awards to be presented September 18th. So stay tuned on more details for that. Now we get into some of the numbers. We'll start with the good news, water and sewer. Our water and sewer is looking like it is trending towards surplus for the 2025 fiscal year. And we will be probably bringing a recommendation to council that we proceed with our reserve transfers for utility. Moving on to the complex, we are currently into a $70,000 deficit as of today, but we did, Councilor Patterson and CAO Stockford were present this week when we were presented with a $52,000 check from Rotary, so that will certainly help us offset that deficit. And good news is most of the construction costs are now behind us. There is still a little tweaking that we have to do, but nothing that should seriously affect those numbers in the future. Now, for our general operating, which is the big one for sure, we are currently trending at a surplus, but we do know that by the end of the year, there are reserve transfers that we really need to make if we are going to continue into projects like another fire truck that needs to be replaced by 2031, by some more public works equipment that is getting really old in the tooth. We definitely need to make those $75,000 reserve transfers by the end of the year for sure. That still doesn't allow us anything for operating reserve transfers, and all of the stuff that we talked about, all of the things that can happen day to day to change these numbers is why we need to make sure that we are putting forth our operating reserve transfers at the end of the year, because Hartland has no savings. We aren't like our neighbors where we have oodles in the bank for sure.
I just want to interrupt for a second.
Sure.
For the benefit of our guests tonight, when Tina refers to reserves, from a municipal perspective, that's our savings account. And for years and years and years, Hartland never did reserves. And for the last several years, we've been trying to apply as much as possible into a rainy day fund, our savings account. Tina certainly helped with that and to guide us along that route. But recently, when we are in the process of purchasing a fire truck, 3 years of those reserves have come back to substantially help us afford that.
Right, so that's why it makes it important that we continue those for the next one, so it relieves us a little bit more into the future. That being said, the numbers that we are projecting forward currently is that we would be on basically a net platform, but no reserve transfers would be done. None of our operating reserve transfers and none of our transfers to fire or public works that we really should be planning on. So it's still a tight year, but we have seen that so far this year, we have made that $160,000 happen. We just have to make sure that we're continuing to do everything we can to make that happen for the remainder of this year. And again, we're looking at May 31st. Summer tends to be a cheaper period of operating costs for us. But then again, we just have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to stay on track. So it's not, it's concerning, but it's not the end of the road for sure. There are some positive numbers. We continue to be in a positive cash flow. That's all good. We actually have people who are coming to us and looking for us to invest our dollars. So they've seen our 2024 financial statements, and they're, but the one thing that they are looking at, I actually had one the other day and they called and they said, well, you guys have $2 million in the bank. And I went, no, that was at the end of 2023. We built a complex. So anyway, so, but they are still interested in helping us to find out ways that we could invest any surplus or unused cash that we might have. And it's just $250,000 at this point that we're saying maybe there are some ways that we could put that into a savings account. But we need that to have access to in case anything should happen, because for a municipality with a $4 million budget, $250,000 is nothing for sure. So anyway, that is my report in a nutshell. If you have any questions, I'm always available and answering questions you might have.
So we're still broke.
We're better, but we're still, yes, it's not an easy day to day for sure.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our Public Works report with Jay Giberson.
Madam Mayor, Council, guests, I want to start with, why do you always look at me? So, streets and roads, patching is, there's more to come. I just want to highlight that. I spoke to that last council. But just know that in Hartland there is more patching to come. The PMHP, we're hoping to have that for tender next week. So the work on the 105 could soon be starting. The Dillon report, that still consumes a fair amount of time. I'm on the phone a lot with that. Meeting tomorrow with a gentleman for lagoon curtain and other pieces. I want to put a big highlight onto our flowers, so a big thanks to Sarah Everett, our beautification committee, for all the flowers that have been planted. She worked all the flower gardens, reworked all the flower gardens, and did all of the planting on her own.
Yes, it's beautiful.
So, we have a watering schedule with the fertilizing schedule that she has provided us, and we are following. So, signs, we have fixed the Welcome to Hartland sign. It is in the medium by the Charles Allen Park. When we got there to look at it, it was found that the installers had only drove the stakes 8 inches in the ground and decided to cut them off. And it is my suspicion that that's what's happening in the outlying areas as well, which I believe we are going to now be rectifying on our own instead of waiting for the installer.
You mean the signs like Cole Street sign? Yeah.
That's why they, when the wind direction changes, the state sign.
They put them in how far into the ground?
The one in that medium was
8 inches.
So,
that's
in our climate is not a, I don't know, with a Rennie, you need a little bit of anchor there.
Have you paid them yet?
We won't get into that, but, the other thing I want to highlight is my summer students. We've started 3 young gentlemen on the 16th, Tanner Sharp, Cooper Blois, and Andrew Quinn, which all have seemed to be a very great hire. Look, we're a week in. I don't want to swell their heads up too much, but they're very keen, and they're with very little tutoring or showing, they were able to just go out and go, and I have very little, sounds bad, but I have very little contact with them. They do their thing and I don't have to work. So, and that's all.
how's the pool?
Pool is running, still chilly somehow.
How bad is it leaking?
We only need to run the garden hose about 5 or 6 hours a day. And 1, not 3 for 24 hours.
That's improvement, that's great.
So,
Yep, that's good.
yep.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for Jed? Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Joe.
Okay, where's- Oh, goodness. Sorry, I got rid, somehow I lost the my instructions. Oh, here we go. John Nigro, Director of Facilities and Operations.
Good evening, everyone, again. Okay. So again, just highlight a few things in my report. I guess we start off by talking about ball hockey. Ball hockey was a huge success this year. The adult league concluded on June 14th and the youth group concluded on June 19th. Pickup ball hockey still happening on Sundays, and playoffs went great. I'd like to thank everybody for their participation and coming out, watching the games and participating. It was a great season, so I'd like to thank everyone for that. Hartland basketball, so the summer basketball program is set to begin in July and run for 6 weeks, focusing on 2 age groups, 5 to 8 and 9 to 12. Each group will have 2 one-hour sessions per week for a total of 12 sessions. And each week will also have a different focus area and time for scrimmaging. In addition to the summer program, the facility will have open floor time, similar to our drop-in floor time we have on weekends. Basketball nets have been set, 2 of the basketball nets have been set up. And we've also ordered new basketball designed for the smooth concrete floor. So it's exciting to introduce that. Pool operations, to further Director Giberson's point, pool was open for the school on June 17th, and work was done this year to better the leak issue. 3 garden hoses to the tank, and to paint the pool and freshen up the pool head. And participants are enjoying the convenience of having activities scheduled at the facility as well as the pool, and obviously canteen being open for lunch, and us actually having the facility this year, so it's quite nice. Canada is around the corner, hard to believe that. Hartland will be hosting a bike rodeo in collaboration with the RCMP from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Tuesday. Prizes to be won, the Olympics following the bike rodeo as our normal schedule. Free barbecue, afternoon swim, bow swim. It's next Tuesday. And this past Saturday, the DRCC Community Complex hosted a fundraiser led by the Upper Valley Autism Resource Center, and well-attended event, positive feedback on our facility and our staff. Special Olympics still slated for July 18th and 19th. We will be hosting the bocce and softball events. Registration numbers are climbing for the Western Valley Regional Games, so I encourage all participants to register. And as stated earlier, discussing Fun Park, our summer hours have been in effect at the facility since June 16th. They're 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, to 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekends. And the special hours will be considered for certain special events on weekends as well. I did want to take just a couple of minutes to let everyone know that we, myself, Treasurer Pelkey, and CAO Stockford had a very good discussion about ice rates for the upcoming season. So we have set our regular ice rates for the 2025-2026 season, and some of the factors that went into determining that were comparisons to neighboring facilities, the increase in utility and staffing costs, and the increase in equipment and material costs. The new rates, so just a snippet here. So our prime rates, and this is similar to our neighborhoods to Woodstock. Evenings past 4:30 p.m. and weekends would be considered prime time. So we are going to be $173.50 per hour, tax included. Non-prime, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, $138 per hour, tax included. And our minor hockey and school rate, and the minor hockey and school rate will be $115 per hour, tax included. And obviously, special consideration will be given to our home teams as well. Our 3, we're very grateful to have 3 home teams. Okay. The last thing I wanted to mention was our summer grant applications. So, since the beginning of the summer, we have applied for a number of grants this season to expand our facility offerings. 2 grants have been submitted with the provincial government for recreation and community development. Both were recently awarded to us for a total amount of $6,800. This funding has and will go toward the summer basketball program and improvements made in Fun Park, general facility resources, and aquatics resources. We've also applied for 2 jumpstart grants, which I can touch on later this evening, for a total amount of $5,500.
How's ActiveNet? How are you guys making it with that? You're doing your registration?
Treasurer Pelkey sent us a great update today on ActiveNet, and I think we've ironed out a lot of the kinks. People are participating with it online. We have a good system internally to manage it, and it's just been a great platform. We've launched a community calendar through there, so we're sharing community events through our activity portal on ActiveNet, and people can go online and view the calendar, and it's only going to expand once we get into the winter season.
How are the registration numbers for the sports, and are they right around where they were last year? Are they about the same?
Higher and some, like I said, we had increased the number from Fun Park, and we filled up Fun Park about a week after our in-person registration nights. So we filled up like 30 spots, basketball, baseball is trending where it always is. Yeah, it's very all around. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Okay, our next report is our communications and development report with Michelle Derrah.
So, some of the highlights that you find in my report for social media, I did share the Regional Service Commission's survey on trail use to the town's Facebook page. That survey is open until August 15th, so the public can go to our Facebook page and find that survey, and I've included it in my council report so that council members make sure that they take part in that survey as well. I also shared the off-road vehicle and dirt bike use on trails and public streets information to our Facebook page. It received lots of comments. Some feel that we should be happy the kids want to play outside. Some feel the noise makes it difficult to enjoy their property outside, and others voiced concerns of possible injury from doing stunts on streets. So there was lots of feedback there, so check out that post if you haven't already seen it, and make sure you read down through the comments. Under economic development, I created a new interactive business map and added that to our website. So that link has been sent to the 90+ Hartland area businesses that were in my database. And I asked them to review their information on that map, make sure they were on there, and to get in touch with me if they weren't or if anything needed to be corrected. So I've just heard from a couple on that, and I believe I included a blurb about that, seems to me, in our newsletter as well. So hopefully everybody will get the message on that. But it's really neat. It's a Google map, so you can zoom in and you can click on it, and you can see the information on businesses, and you can filter and all sorts of things. So that is on our Explore page as well, or the link to it, as well as our businesses tab as well. We also have a new group hub. So Unit 13 have launched a Facebook page, and they're teasing some sneak peeks. So make sure you look for that and follow them on Facebook. And so it's Unit, and it's XIII, so Roman numeral 13. And it sounds like from reading the comments, they're hoping for July. I forget when in July. Then I also, Craig Manufacturing are celebrating 80 years in business. So the town gave a congratulatory comment on their Facebook post, and that's quite an accomplishment for anywhere, let alone a small town like ours, so that's wonderful. Congratulations to them. The newsletter I touched on, so the July Hartland Happenings newsletter, that I've actually already picked that up from the printer, so that's an update from what's in my report. And I will be taking those to Canada Post on Thursday to drop them off so that they can get them ready to go out the first of the week. So people should see those in their mailboxes next week, and I will upload the digital copy onto our website once I've taken them over. Then, for grants and funding, the Volunteer Recognition Awards funding for $1,000 that we submitted, that council had approved, that did we got a quick approval on that one from RDC through the CIF Community Investment Fund Events and Festivals funding stream, so that was good news. We have also been approved for our pre-construction and infrastructure application for the Rockland Road Phase 1 project. So that was a $65,500 project that is funded at 40%. So we got approved for $27,323 to go towards that. So that is going to be helping with the aerator and the curtain at the lagoon, as well as some well 2 inspection and assessment, I guess, of that. Plus some things that we had already had to undertake anyways, to get a capacity confirmation letter, so that'll be able to be included and get reimbursed a portion of that as well. The downtown waterfront revitalization project, so that's been split. So you might remember we are waiting for the Wawa permit before ACOA will allow us to submit our application again, ACOA and RDC. And so we have broken that out into 2 sections because the breakwater is probably going to be more difficult to get through the Wawa process. So until we're partway through that, we're waiting for the phase 1, which is the boat ramp, basically. That one we should be hearing. It's just awaiting the minister's signature, who asked DFO for feedback on the ramp. So we're getting close to having that permit. And the Glen Group actually sent me the report this week, and that came from the design engineer for the breakwater that would slow the current. And the Glen Group is going to put together some prices because there were several options given. But to ballpark, one of the options was $500,000. So that's off the table. We can't afford that. So we really can't make any decisions. I didn't forward the report to council because until we have dollar figures to put in there, I don't think it's relevant information at this point, basically. But it is moving along at a snail's pace, unfortunately. Planning and development. So there were 7 building and development permits issued in the month of May, totaling $1.35 million of residential and industrial construction value. So our year-to-date total is $2,825,500. And rezoning we'll touch on later on in the council meeting. For tourism and events, so the Tabernacle Wedding Venue, that's the former St. John Valley Bible Camp, they are advertising that they now offer limited accommodations for the 2025 season through Airbnb. Their post that they did on Facebook, we've shared that to the town's page to try to spread that word, because that's excellent. We are really limited on overnight accommodations in our municipality. So that's good news. So I think what mainly she's doing, she's pretty booked up on the weekends. I think she's opening it up to some weekday slots, probably Tuesday to Thursday kind of thing. But really good news there. Now, the Visitor Information Center, they are seeing a drastic drop in traffic coming into the Visitor Information Center. So they're unsure if people are coming to the Somerville side, and since they couldn't get through because the bridge was closed, they're just getting their pictures and going back, or whether numbers are down, or we're not sure what's going on, but they have reduced their hours. I provided that information in my report, and they're just waiting to see if things pick up. So hopefully now that the bridge is open, they will see some improvements there on the number of people coming through. And the last thing, I completed the radar speed sign training with Jed and Julie, and they're working together to get a priority list of where it should be installed done up, and Jed's already gotten it put up on Rockland Road, so just working through the kinks of the first installation.
I just asked, is it working? Because it didn't show that I was speeding when I come out here from there.
Yes.
You must not have been speeding.
Oh, I thought I was.
Any questions for Michelle? Thank you, Michelle. You're welcome. Okay, our next report is our with our interim fire chief, Reid.
Evening, everybody. Sorry for being late, I didn't get the memo. Yeah, I was here. And I felt bad for being late, but the township came after me, so I don't feel so bad now.
That's okay. All right.
I didn't speed.
Neither did I.
As long as you're not late for a fire.
Yeah, that's the main thing. So has everybody got a chance to look over all the little calls here and everything? I'd just like to make a little assessment on this here. Like there's 5 medical calls here. And we're still working with Derrah, that we're on the call. As soon as they go to a medical assessment and like that, they call us. But I'm trying to get it with her, and she's trying to work it with the paramedics will call as if they need us for backup, like that. And like there's 2 medical assists, the 11th and the 12th, and this was necessary because this patient was overweight and 2 paramedics couldn't lift this person up, so we helped them quite a bit. And then this 2 structure fires, one was over to Simon's, and they got the building out, but then it ignited outside, and we got a call from the person that owned it, like they had to put out everything. And this mulch fire was over to the hospital, and I guess somebody was smoking outside and kept picking the cigarettes into the mulch, and it
Actually, I don't think it was. I think it's happened before on really hot days. It just starts.
Black mulch is tossed with coal dust and
It started on its own, because we went back and watched video, and we didn't see him throw anything.
there wasn't anything there. Then I was told that he'd like to go there and smoke.
He did, yeah.
So anyway, then I was notified that these calls for this year here is 7 hours more than 24. Even in 24, we got the Covered Bridge Chips fire, and that was over 300 hours. But this year, we had more calls. We had last year, this time, reported was 62. This year here is 74. And motor vehicle accidents, it increased from 14 to 21. And the medical calls were from 10, from 24 to 25 was 12. And then on top of this here, we increased our department by 4 people, and 2 of them are coming quite regularly. So we're getting more man hours added up to it. So I just want to let everybody know, that's why we're having more calls and like the man hours more.
With your brush fire, Roy, are these in violation of our bylaw? Like, are these being assessed to see if they are in violation? Because if they're costing us man hours and stuff, and they're in violation of our bylaws.
I think this one here, and Jen, if you could correct me on this, I think it happened over Somerville, and the guy called in to smell smoke, and what it was somebody was burning down farther, and the smoke was coming out of his resident's house. But the captain went down and talked to him, says you cannot burn without having a permit. So he didn't know that. So.
Wasn't me.
You're the first person to come to mind.
I know, that's why I say it wasn't me.
Okay.
Any
That's
other
it.
questions for our interim fire chief? Thank you, Ron. Okay, and 7.6, last but certainly not least, our CAO report with Julie Stockford.
Good evening, everyone. As usual, everybody gets to all the fun stuff before me. We do have an issue with the complex with no air conditioning in our lobby or canteen area, so we're looking into that. Director Nigro is checking with one of the contractors to see if there's something there that we're missing or what's going on, because that certainly adds to our issues with wanting to hold events and stuff there. I actually attended the autism walk, and it was very humid and muggy in there, and I was there about 10 after 10, so. We've had a couple other issues, and it's not at any fault of any of the staff, or it's, I think we're just first year growing pains. We've had a couple of power outage issues with the canteen. Jeff had a fire call in the middle of the night for the complex, and it was a smoke damper situation that we'd had troubles with before, so. And we're working on some warranty issues for a couple of water leaks on the building, so it's just growing pains, but we're getting there. The covered bridge is open, yay, celebrate that. And actually regarding that, the height barrier, I've heard from the engineer at Craig's, and Michelle and I are going to arrange a meeting in the next 2 or 3 days to go up, because he's going to be able to work with us on that height sign that's in the middle of the height barrier. Yes, Reid?
That sign, did DTI request some kind of a formal letter from somebody that hasn't been issued yet?
They want a copy of signed, stamped engineer plans. So it's not an issue, it will be approved, but they do want confirmation of a sign. So that's what we're going now that they've got all the lovely signage
So
on the.
Craig's are to provide that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the engineer that's working on it, once he finally figures out.
Because I talked to Mark last night, and that, what was put out by DTI in the middle of those brackets, that 34, that's not gonna interfere with.
And that's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had sent him a picture and said, here's the final thing. So
Yeah,
we have to go from
It's
here.
not a
Yeah.
concern, so.
Yeah, no, it's just a matter, he was on vacation and I wasn't able to touch base with him, and he's back now, and then we just haven't been able to connect yet, so. The Hugh John Fleming Bridge, we've all seen that they're doing something, I guess it's an inspection on, what they're going to be doing down the road. Is that it's slated for reconstruction beginning 2027. The radar speed sign, actually, when we did our training on that, we were quite impressed with it. So we can actually gather data based on where it is for speeding and number of vehicles, so we can actually track how much traffic a street gets, not just speeders or slow folks, not that we have any of those. Doctor recruitment, actually, after speaking with the mayor, I'm going to reach out to our local doctors to see if maybe they would be interested in mentoring us or sitting on the committee or helping us somehow with the doctor issue, so that we can get the wheels rolling on that and make some progress. The Belterre, as they stated, we did have a report back and that's moving along slowly, but it is picking up a little speed now. We have a report for the road to go through there. So on that, on a new road, I've asked Recreation to come up with a plan, because with the new road going between the pool and the complex, we're definitely gonna see some results of the new road and vibrations with our pool. So I have asked Recreation to come up with a plan on repairs, on filtration systems, what we'll need to do with that, on possibly a heat pump for money down the road, if we can possibly align it, or what we need to do, and the pool hut definitely needs some TLC. So they're working on some costing so that we can have a plan in place, so when our new street goes through, we can then address the pool hopefully and do what needs to be done for that. What else do we have? We did have a lift, one of our lift pumps. Jed's in the process of doing some inspection work on that. We've had some issues with that. Under our Parks and Recreation, the Becker Glimmick Park, the picnic structures look terrible. We need to come to some kind of, we need to move some money from somewhere to fix those. That's my other concern. If we're building and building and building, and we're not maintaining the structures and the recreational things that we have. And the Becker-Gwinnett Trail, that hasn't had much attention to it either. So actually Director Nigro and I have been chatting about that, and we're gonna see if maybe we can organize a day that we can all get together and do some cleanup down through there. Again, I've listed out some concerns I've received on, there's some dog issues, dog barking, speeding. And that is pretty much it, other than correspondence.
So does our bylaw enforcement officer slash dog catcher make trips to Hartland frequently or only when requested?
Only when requested, and most of those I've been able to handle myself with a phone call and then a letter to the resident to let them know. And I've asked the people that are reporting the incidents to let me know if it continues, because I have no way, we have no way of knowing unless they call back, in a couple of weeks and let us know that the dog's still running at large or there's still an issue with continuous barking.
Any questions for our CAO? Thank you. We'll move on to item 9, business from prior meeting. 9.1 is in regard to a zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you, Michelle.
So, a rezoning application has been received from Marcus DeWinter of MVP GP Incorporated for PID 10286-987, which is located along Rockland Road in front of the Hartland Community School. The property is currently zoned R2 residential mix, which allows up to 4 units. The proposed development is one 62-unit apartment building plus a self-storage building. Hartland's planning director with the Regional Service Commission has advised it would require a new zone for that many units. Therefore, a new zone of R5 residential 5 zone is suggested, which would allow the 4-story, 62-unit apartment building. Council has previously set the online public hearing with the planning director for Thursday, July 3rd at 6:30 p.m. And so that, again, that's the online one, and then the in-person public hearing is during the regular council meeting on July 8th, which is our regular council meeting time beginning at 6:30 p.m. So council will receive an email of that meeting invite once Connor schedules that Zoom meeting. And it would be really beneficial for council to attend so that you can ask any questions, you can hear his entire report. A copy of his report has been provided. This is what he's presenting to the PRAC, the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee, tomorrow evening. And he will go through it again in detail during the public hearing. And like I said, it's very beneficial if you've never attended one of those. And he is not going to be available to attend remotely when we do our July 8th in-person public hearing. That's why I'm suggesting it would be really beneficial for you to attend. Attendees at one of the public hearings will have an opportunity to hear more information from the planning director and ask questions, so not just council. Anyone can reach out to the planning director and ask to be included in that online public hearing if they want. And so if you do want to attend the online session, you have to contact the planning director, Connor Tripp, and he's at the Service Commission. The information is also on our website under the notices, and it's on our Facebook page as well. But again, council members will all receive an email invite automatically. And the planning director has sent notices to property owners within 30 meters to advise them of the proposed zoning change and property use. To align with the proposed enactment schedule provided by the planning director, council has been provided with a draft motion to complete the first of 3 readings of the zoning bylaw amendment. So that is included in your council notes tonight. And then there would still be an additional 2 readings before the bylaw would be enacted. So there's still lots of time to ask questions, either from council or from the public.
Is there a motion prepared for you?
So I move that we proceed with the first reading by title of bylaw number B-46.9, Town of Hartland zoning bylaw as presented.
Seconded.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions regarding this? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Move on to item 9.2, Fire Bylaw D-07.01 review. CAO.
And this is just a third and final reading. The changes that were done here was to change or correct the residential zone because of the bylaw or the rezoning for the De Winter. The other was to align our bylaw with the fire department's bylaw with regards to number of staff and their officers, and with regards to our election and their election.
I'll make a motion to proceed with the third reading by title and enactment of bylaw number D-07.02, bylaw relating to fire protection and prevention as presented.
Seconded, Councilor Britton.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. I'll now complete the third reading by title, bylaw number D-07.02, bylaw related to fire protection. We'll move on to item 10, which is regarding new business. Item 10.1 is the CCC Recreation Council Inc. Municipal Grant Application. Thank you, Tina.
So you also want in your package the application from the CCC, the beautiful building that we are in tonight, for $40,000 towards operating expenses for the CCC. A couple of things of note. Before amalgamation, this building and other buildings within our municipality were funded through the LSD tax base of the former LSDs. During amalgamation, in 2023 for our budget, we were informed by the province that we needed to continue to support these buildings in the same manner as they had been supported in the past, which was $4,000 for the CCC. The CCC also has outside of the building a standby generator. So this is a building that could be included and wants to be included in our emergency planning. So it is the recommendation of staff that we continue to support this active, although like other buildings, it is, and I shouldn't say buildings, I should say organizations, it's for volunteers. So being able to fundraise, and kudos to this group for being able to fundraise, for sure. They do continue to try and they continue to operate. So in the opinion of staff and the town, it is important that council continue to support this organization. So our recommendation is.
If we don't pass this, are they gonna kick us out?
Yeah. I have a key.
This is all budgeted?
It is budgeted.
Okay.
And this is formally provided by LSDs, was it not?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the CCC Recreation Council Incorporated Municipal Grant Application in the amount of $4,000 for assistance with operational costs and an AED.
Second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Thank you for the explanation, Tina, for those who may have forgotten how this all operated beforehand. Thank you. Hearing no question or comment, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 10.2 regarding Special Olympics Municipal Grant Application.
This actually, she had spoke to Stuart and we had asked her to send this in. It's for in-kind support, so any of the fees, we just felt that they came to us and was hoping to host the event, but it's the amount of $765 to waive the fees for the sports facilities.
So other municipalities that are participating in some of the events hosted by Special Olympics are waiving fees, but immaterial of that, Special Olympics clearly demonstrated early on that they were a valued partner by seeking Hartland out and wanting to profile our new complex as part of their provincial operations, knowing full well that their event that's coming up would get good media coverage around Atlantic Canada, and they wanted to include us in that. The fact that they're not asking for any money up front, but just the waiving of fees, I think is a reasonable expectation.
Actually, when I sent her the application, I actually stated to specify the amount of the fees were in-kind, and if they were looking for any financial support, that they could also include that, and she just requested the in-kind support, so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the Special Olympics Municipal Grant application for the in-kind request to waive rental fees for the 2025 event in the amount of $765.
I'll second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. Item 10.3, Jumpstart Application MB 252-46499, Winter Recreation Development. It's on Nigro.
So, yes, first jumpstart application 6499 is regarding winter development. More specifically, plans to introduce a skate sharpening service at the facility in the form of a Spark skate sharpener at the total ask of about $2,500 from Jumpstart. This would obviously just allow us to increase our services at the facility over the winter months. And I know it's been asked for many years, and people there would love to have that offering.
So is this, does somebody run this machine, or somebody puts their skates in it and sharpens them?
Well, yeah, somebody wants, it's kind of automated, but there's like a process that runs off an app and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's more modern skate sharpening.
It's not a vending machine, a skate sharpener.
Right.
Like that's what you were getting at, I think.
No,
is it
I would
some
hope
of
it
them
wouldn't
put
be
your
that.
money
You
in
don't
it?
move the skate.
Yeah.
It moves under the skate.
Yeah.
You lodge it in.
No, I was thinking about that pop machine that used to be in the Hartland Arena that made your skates worse.
Yeah, somebody mans it. Yeah.
So there's a motion for consideration.
I'll make a motion to ratify the Jumpstart application NB 252-46499 in the amount of $2,500 for the purchase of a skate sharpener for the Recreation Department to be installed at the Day and Ross Community Complex.
I'll second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question?
What was that, Tina?
I was just going to say, there's a bit of a clarification. It's not Day and Ross Community Complex, it's Day and Ross Community Center.
Do I need to you want me to read? Do you want me to say it again?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'll make a motion to ratify the Jumpstart application NB 252-46499 in the amount of $2,500 for the purchase of a skate sharpener for the Recreation Department to be installed at the Day and Ross Community Center. Let's set it again.
Moved and seconded. Thank you for that clarification. If there are no questions, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried. And John, another one for you?
And then, dumpster application NB 2534540, winter recreation expansion. So this is to allow us to introduce some additional resources for our escape program, our public skating, and introduce a new winter program in floor curling. There was a program that it was an activity that we were introduced to for I think it was our Go Girls. Somebody brought it in, and it was really popular. It can be done in the community room or fitness room, and with obviously the absence of a curling facility, we feel like this would be a good activity over the winter months. And so the total amount for that, including curling, is $2,948 request from Minister.
Is this in the budget?
It's already
I'll make a motion to ratify the jumpstart application NB 252454940 application in the amount of $29.48 to enable the Recreation Department to offer more inclusive learn to skate program and an indoor curling program.
Do you have a seconder?
Seconded.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any question on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand. Motion is carried. And our last item for this evening is item 10.5, Coldstream WI Hall Municipal Grant Application.
So we received an application from them for $1,000 to pressure wash the outside of the building and patch potholes in the driveway. I did check with Tina, and there is a little bit extra in our grant fund for the halls, right?
This is included, just the
Yeah.
same as the triple C has always been.
So I actually thought we should offer $1,500 versus $1,000. They're both in the same area. They both are volunteer. They both do great things for the communities and host, fundraisers and meals and.
I move to approve the Coldstream WI Hall application for $1,500 to be used to power wash the building and repair potholes in the driveway.
Second, Councilor Britton.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions? So, is this total, Tina, if I may address you, is this total what was budgeted or was in a line previously?
So we're still within our budget for our community halls. Yes. And then we still have a little bit more. We have reached out to Waterville because they've always been included. As of yet, they have not applied for a grant application.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor raise your right hand. Motion is carried. The date of our next meeting is July 8th at 6:30 at the Hartland Town Hall. And the meeting following that will be in Waterville at their community hall on July 22nd at 6:30.
Tell Roy Reid.
What's that? Sorry.
Tell Roy Reid.
No, Reid. We'll tell them, you got it? Okay. I want to thank those who allowed us to be here in the Triple C building this evening. It's been really nice to move and get out of our comfort zone a little bit and experience this setting. Thank you to our guests who came to join us this evening. And thank you, of course, to all of council and staff who are here.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, hey, there we go. Do you have a seconder to adjourn?
Question.
Yes.
So with the July 3rd, I believe, is what was written down for the planning concept. Are we gonna have is anybody watching that at the town office or council chambers?
We can set it up that way if you want. That'd be the easiest thing to do, probably.
Because I think my service in Howard Brook is somewhat
non-existent?
You don't know.
So that's an option? Okay.
You got something wrong with Howard Brook?
Not a thing wrong with Howard Brook.
Okay.
And not having phone service and internet service is one of the nicest advantages.
Yes, it is.
Do we have a seconder on our adjournment?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Motion is carried.
What session?